where the Chicago cast of Hamilton, as well as Chloe Agnew, they're actually taking questions from the crowd. We've heard a lot of them. The crowd really enjoyed their performance. We'll send it back to you as this Q&A goes on.
It brings worlds together, and that's the thing that makes me hold the most pride in and I guess that's what makes me such a big fan of the show.
Yeah, I'm same. I wasn't a fan. I didn't know. I knew. So I don't know if this is the same for you all, but for me, I had been going through quite a long dry spell professionally. I had like 6 months of like being put on hold for jobs or shows and like never getting them. So you kind of, you can kind of develop a defense mechanism when you're getting rejected a bunch, and you kind of remain in a healthy way. You just kind of remain at an arm's length distance from like anything, a lot of things. And Hamilton was certainly something that I wasn't like. I knew that it was a hip hop musical. I knew who the choreographer was. I'd heard that I would do his movement well. I knew like who the creative team was, but I didn't. I don't like to listen to the cast recordings before I see the show. So really, either that or watching the bootleg would have been the only way in it. And I couldn't watch the bootleg, and I don't like listening to the recordings before I see the show. So I didn't know much about it, and then the first time I really learned everything was like when we learned all the music. And at that point I wish I had listened to the recording more, because it was really hard to learn. But yeah, I mean, and now I love the show, and but yeah. So I don't think that there was an added element of pressure to like live up to this thing that you idolize. I think that just kind of would put unnecessary pressure on you,
What was it like playing a role like Lafayette, like playing a role that someone who was famous?
Wait, was Lafayette? You mean famous as playing a famous person, like Lafayette? Let me think. It's cool. I think honestly, it's a lot of fun, and I think for me, because I started out in a role very similar to JJ, so I actually used to understudy Burr, Washington, Lafayette Jefferson, and Mulligan Madison. And so I kind of had a chance to step into a lot of the roles and see what they feel like. And when I jumped on the table for the first time, I'm giving if you haven't seen it yet.
There are tables in the show.
There are tables in the show, and I jump on one of them. When I jumped on the desk in that moment in Guns and Ships to do the rap that I just did for you, it's such an energy-giving role, and that's the thing that I found. That's Hamilton's almost 3 hours long, and the first time I finished Lafayette Jefferson, I had more energy than when I finished. I had more energy finishing the show than when I started, and I think that was the moment when I was like, oh man, I would love to do this. And so that was the one. That's the feeling, is that when you receive as much as you give, so that's what I'd say it feels like.
Can I ask you a question? Has many of you seen Hamilton? Yeah, all right. So when I went to see it, the first thing I thought was, it's like you said, 3 hours long, and as a singer for a living and who has to remember songs and lines, all I kept thinking the whole way through is, how are these people remembering all of these words? It's absolutely incredible. So you talk about being swings and understudies for multiple different parts. How do you split your brain? How do you know who you're doing at each part?
Somebody asked me this question. It's funny. This is the third day that somebody's asked me
I'm so
this
sorry.
question. No, it's great because before I couldn't articulate what it was, and I'm kind of close to it. And
okay.
I think where I'm at now is, so my sister has 4 girls. She just had 2 twins, and oh my God, they're beautiful. And the way I'm able to understand how I'm able to sort of compartmentalize each role is in the same way that my sister has to give energy and time and attention to each child. We all live under the same house, right? They all live in the same house, all have the same rules, right? They all rap in some way. They wear these particular costumes, right? Right? And so it's like, but this character wants a particular thing that's different from this character, right? And this motivation is different. You know what I mean? So it's those things that sort of help me to be, okay, this is time for Burr to step into this. And then all of those things sort of, then the songs make sense, and because it's so beautifully written, it is literally like an orchestra. Like Burr is like the violin, and Hamilton is the piano, you know, or the timpani. You know, it's just it all comes together once you're able to sort of differentiate each person's existence in this masterpiece.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Is that the writing is so well written. It's so well written in the sense of there is a clear line from start to finish for everyone you play, and in stepping into multiple roles, like pretty much, and like all of us have, you can see the line, and when you step off the track, when you're not in your line, you know it real fast, and that's the thing that kind of like keeps you on track, and so it's such a gift.
There was a time where it wasn't always so pretty. Right. You know what I mean? Like where literally I remember I had to look. I forgot for. I was on for Hamilton the entire weekend, and then on a Sunday, 30 minutes before the show, I had to step into Burr, and it was just like there were times I had to be I had to look down at my costume and be like, oh, okay, got it. Okay, this is who I, and that's honestly the fun part of the job. Oh my God, it's the best because every day is so different. So different.
Still mind blown.
Hi, so I have two questions. The first one is that obviously the three of you are in a musical, and then Chloe, you picked 3 songs from musicals. What is it about narrative music that's so different than the type of music you hear on the radio?
Well, I think I grew up listening to many different genres. Both my parents are in the music business in Ireland, so I grew up singing many different types of genres of music, and for that grew a love for many different styles of music. And I can't stand this thing of when people say, well, what do you sing? You have to be pigeonholed into one box, and I don't like that. I'm a singer, so I want to be able to sing whatever songs I want to sing. But I do think that the connection for me, I think songs, as I said earlier, they're most real and important when there's a story to them, and whether that be a personal connection or something that other people are identifying with within the song. And I think that comes from Irish music, because the Irish have a song for everything: singing, dancing. We do it all. We have songs for milking the cows. So it's I think we're so connected to our history, to our culture, to what we have to tell through song. So then when you come to something like musical theatre, you're telling a story, you're portraying an emotion in that moment. And I think maybe that's just because it's connected to my roots of where I come from. And I love music, so I like to be able to choose whatever I want to sing.
And then I guess my second question, going off that, I was going to ask if you happen to know the Hebrew for When You Believe, but do you know any Irish songs that you? I know a little bit of it. It's not very good.
Oh, bravo! Oh, good. No, it's not a song that I've ever sung in any other language other than English. But my God, you've given me a task now. Maybe I'll have to go and learn that version of it. But I sing in Gaelic. I've sung in many different languages, and I love singing. But Hebrew is not on the list yet, and I'll have to add it to it. I'll look it up. Thank you. Thanks. You can give me lessons. All right, next time I'm going to call you.
Yeah, hi. I'm sorry, I'm nervous. Okay. I just want to say I love you guys. I love Hamilton. I used to watch it, listen to it every day. And I save money, so I'm going to buy tickets for my mom for Mother's Day. So I'll see you guys there. Okay, my question is, what is next for all of you? After Hamilton, what's in the future?
I think,
Well, while y'all think about your answers here, I can say, because it's a lot of my job is actually talking to these guys up here, but also to people in all the companies, because while on the one hand, the blessing of Hamilton and all of its many forms is it is a rare thing in our business of stability, and so there's so much that is amazing about that, and it's so rare.
Hey, well, the Chicago cast of Hamilton as well as Chloe Agnew are still getting tons of questions from the crowd here at the DeBartolo Performing Arts Center. So we're going to let this Q&A keep going. It's been an amazing way to close out hour 26 of this celebration.